The elevator that doesn't go down the Blackmore Hotel had no 13th floor. At least that's what the brass directory beside the elevator claimed. Floors 1 to 12, then 14. A superstition trick. Old hotels did that all the time. Marcus noticed it at 11:48 p.m., dragging his suitcase across the marble lobby after a delayed flight in Chicago. Snow piled against the glass doors outside. The city felt dead at that hour. No cars, no voices, just wind screaming between buildings. The night clerk handed him a key card without looking up. "Floor?" Marcus asked. The clerk paused, slowly lifted his eyes. 14. Marcus stepped into the elevator alone. The doors slid shut with a tired, metallic sigh. Soft music crackled from the ceiling speaker, something old, warped, playing at the wrong speed. He pressed 14. The elevator shuddered, then began to rise. 30, 14. It didn't stop. The numbers kept climbing. Marcus frowned and jabbed the button again. Nothing. No response. The emergency button glowed red but stayed silent. The music stopped. At 19, the elevator slowed. At 20, it stopped completely. The doors opened. Marcus stared. The hallway outside was wrong. The carpet was the same pattern as the lower floors, but soaked dark like it had been drowned. The walls sagged inward slightly, breathing. The lights flickered, buzzing like insects trapped in glass. At the end of the hallway stood an elevator directory. 20. Guest floor. Temporary. Marcus stepped out. The elevator doors closed behind him. Immediately the temperature dropped. His breath fogged the air. The silence pressed in so hard his ears rang. Doors lined the hallway, every single one slightly open. From inside them came sounds, crying, whispering, a phone ringing endlessly. Marcus backed toward the elevator and hit the call button. Nothing. Behind him, a door creaked wider. A woman stood in the doorway. Her hotel robe was stained black at the hem. Her face looked normal, too normal, except her eyes were bloodshot and wide like she hadn't slept in years. "You shouldn't be here," she said calmly. "Where is this?" Marcus asked, voice shaking. She smiled weakly. "Still asking that?" Another door opened, then another. People stepped out slowly, men in business suits, a child clutching a stuffed bear. An elderly couple holding hands so tightly their knuckles were white. All of them looked exhausted. All of them stared at Marcus. "Is this a prank?" Marcus whispered. A man with a crushed-looking face stepped forward. "You pressed the button twice." "What?" "The elevator," the man said. "You showed hesitation. That's how it knows." The lights flickered violently. From behind the walls came a deep mechanical groan, like cables snapping far below. The woman leaned close to Marcus. "It only goes down empty." The hallway lights went out. In the darkness, something moved fast. Marcus ran. The hallway stretched as he sprinted, doors multiplying, numbers appearing on them, 21, 22, 23, each one peeling itself into existence. Hands reached out from the cracks, fingers bending the wrong way, nails scraping against carpet. He tripped. Cold hands grabbed his ankles. Voices flooded his ears. "Just one more ride. It gets easier after the third night." "Don't fight it." Marcus screamed and clawed forward, reaching the stairwell door at the end of the hall. He burst through it. The stairs spiraled downward endlessly, steps slick and rusted. Exit signs pointed both up and down. Above him, footsteps began to descend. Slow, deliberate. Marcus ran down until his legs burned, lungs screaming. At last, light. He burst through a door into the lobby. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows. Guests chatted. A bellhop laughed. Marcus collapsed to his knees, shaking. Sir? The day clerk asked. Are you okay? Marcus looked up. The elevator. There's a floor. The clerk's smile froze. Which elevator did you take? Marcus swallowed. The one on the left. The clerk slowly turned his monitor toward Marcus. Security footage showed the lobby all night. At 11:48 p.m., Marcus entered the elevator. At 11:49 p.m., the elevator doors opened. Marcus never stepped out. The clerk leaned closer, voice barely audible. Sir, that elevator hasn't worked in 20 years. The bell dinged behind Marcus. He turned. The elevator doors stood open. Inside, the display read, 20. And from the darkness within, a familiar voice whispered gently, Going down. The forest that calls your name. Everyone in Pine Ridge knew not to walk the forest after sunset. Ethan didn't believe in small-town warnings. He was visiting from California, filming nature shots for his channel, chasing fog, trees, silence, things that made people feel small. The Pine Ridge Forest Trail was perfect. Tall pines, no cell signal, endless green. At 6:42 p.m., he stepped past the warning sign. The trail was normal at first, birds, wind, crunch of boots on dirt. The deeper he went, the quieter it became, like sound itself was being absorbed by the trees. Even his footsteps felt muffled. At 7:03 p.m., Ethan heard his name. Ethan. He stopped. The voice came from behind him, familiar, almost comforting. Hello? He called. No answer. He laughed nervously and kept walking, telling himself it was the wind. But the trees were still, no breeze, no movement. Then again. Ethan. This time from the left. Same voice, same tone, his own. Ethan's throat went dry. He pulled out his phone, no signal, battery draining fast. He turned back toward the trail entrance. It was gone. The path behind him had closed in, trees packed tight, branches woven together like a wall of ribs, no gap, no light. Panic crept in, slow and cold. Okay, he muttered. Okay. Just stay calm. Footsteps echoed ahead. Ethan froze. Someone was walking toward him. A figure emerged between the trees. Same height, same clothes, same camera bag slung over one shoulder, same face. The thing smiled, but its mouth opened a second too wide, stretching past where skin should allow. You took too long, it said in Ethan's voice. Ethan ran. The forest warped as he sprinted. Trees leaned inward. Roots grabbed at his boots. The ground dipped and twisted, turning the forest into a tunnel of wood and shadow. Voices followed him now. Dozens. Ethan, come back. Don't leave us. Each voice sounded like him at a different age. Child, teen, adult, screaming, laughing, begging. He burst into a clearing. In the center stood a massive tree split down the middle. Inside the crack were faces, human faces, pressed into the bark, eyes open, mouths frozen mid-scream. All of them looked like Ethan, some younger, some older, some rotting. A hand shot out from the tree and grabbed his wrist. Memories flooded his head that weren't his. People hiking alone, people ignoring warnings, people hearing their names and answering. They never left. The forest didn't kill them, it copied them. Ethan screamed and tore free, stumbling backward. Behind him, the thing wearing his face stood calmly. You can go, it said softly. Someone has to stay. The forest went silent. Ethan woke up gasping, lying on the ground near the trail entrance, morning sunlight pouring through the trees. Rangers stood over him, radios crackling. You're lucky, one said. You were missing all night. Ethan didn't answer. He just stared at the forest. At the edge of the trees, something watched him, smiling. That night, back in his hotel room, Ethan uploaded his footage. The final clip, one he didn't remember recording, showed him standing in the forest, smiling at the camera. Then a voice behind the lens whispered, "Ethan." The video ended. The road that repeats the gas station wasn't on the map. Caleb noticed that after the third time he passed it. Same cracked asphalt. Same flickering neon sign that read "Open 24 hours" with the 4 buzzing louder than the rest. Same rusted pickup parked crooked near Pump 2. Each time his dashboard clock read 1:11 a.m. The first time, Caleb didn't stop. He was driving through West Texas, miles of nothing on both sides, trying to beat exhaustion and a deadline. The second time, his stomach dropped. The third time, his hands started shaking. He slowed the car. The road behind him was straight, endless. No turns, no exits, no curves. Yet there it was again. Caleb pulled in. The air smelled burnt, oil and something metallic. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Insects frozen mid-buzz against the glass windows like they'd been pressed into the night. Inside, a man stood behind the counter. Too still. He wore a faded uniform and a name tag that read, Caleb. "That's not funny," Caleb said immediately. The man smiled without blinking. "Fill up?" Caleb glanced at the clock on the wall. 1:11 a.m. "My name isn't rare," Caleb muttered. "Coincidence." The man tilted his head. Slowly, like his neck resisted the motion. "Not tonight." Caleb backed toward the door. "I'm leaving." The man's smile widened just enough to show teeth worn flat, like they'd been ground down. "You already tried that?" Outside, the road stretched forward. Dark, empty, inviting. Caleb got back in his car and drove. 5 minutes later, the gas station appeared in his headlights. 1:11 a.m. This time, the pickup truck's door was open. Something wet dragged across the pavement toward the building. Caleb didn't stop. He slammed the accelerator. The road began to change. Mile markers appeared, counting backward. 65, 64. His phone lit up with notifications, missed calls, voicemails, from numbers he didn't recognize. One voicemail played on its own. Caleb's voice whispered through the speaker, panicked and hoarse. "Don't stop. If you see it again, don't." The message cut off. The gas station appeared again. This time the lights inside were off, except one, in the bathroom. Caleb's car stalled. The engine died with a hollow click. The door to the gas station creaked open by itself. The man stood there, no longer smiling. "You missed your exit," he said. "What exit?" Caleb screamed. The man gestured toward the road behind the station. Caleb turned. There were dozens of cars parked in the dirt, all identical to his. Same color, same plates. Some were rusted, some were burned. Some still had doors open, seatbelts dangling like severed limbs. The man's voice softened. "Everybody thinks the road goes somewhere." The clock on the dashboard flicked to 1:12 a.m. For the first time, time moved. The gas station lights went out. Caleb woke up slumped over the steering wheel. Morning sun, birds, silence. The road was normal again. No gas station, no pickup, no cars. His phone buzzed. A new voicemail. From his own number. Timestamp. 1:11 a.m. He didn't play it. As he drove away, his rearview mirror reflected something that wasn't the road. A neon sign flickering back to life. Open 24 hours. The house that breathes at night. The house on Alder Creek Road was cheap for a reason. No neighbors, no streetlights. Just a narrow gravel road cutting through empty woods in rural Oregon. Liam rented it without asking questions. He needed isolation, space to write, to think, to disappear for a while. The first night he noticed the sound. Breathing. Slow. Deep. Rhythmic. Liam lay in bed staring at the ceiling, counting seconds between each inhale and exhale. At first he told himself it was the wind slipping through the old walls, but the windows were closed. The second night the breathing came closer. It drifted through the hallway, brushing past his bedroom door, stopping right outside it. The floorboards creaked in time with each breath. Inhale, exhale. Liam opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the walls were warm. Too warm. When he pressed his palm against the wallpaper, it flexed slightly, soft like skin stretched thin over muscle. He jerked his hand back. That night he dreamed he was inside something alive. The walls pulsed, the ceiling rose and fell. Somewhere deep beneath him, a massive heart thudded slowly. He woke up at 3:33 a.m. The breathing was inside the room, right above him. Liam sat up. The ceiling sagged downward, bowing like a chest drawing in air. Dust rained onto his face with each inhale. "No," he whispered. The light flicked on by itself. The room had changed. Veins ran through the walls, faint and blue beneath the paint. The floor rippled gently. The door had shifted, now shaped like a mouth, edges trembling. The house exhaled, a long, wet breath. Liam ran. The hallway stretched impossibly long, walls closing in with every step. Doors appeared where none had been before, each one pulsing, whispering his name through thin cracks. Stay. Warm. Safe. He reached the front door and yanked it open. Outside was darkness, not night. Nothing. A void where the forest should have been. Behind him, the house inhaled sharply. Hands formed from wood and wire and flesh pushed from the walls, gripping his shoulders, pulling him back inside. "You don't have to leave," the house whispered, its voice layered and deep. "You fit perfectly." Morning came quietly. A real estate sign stood outside the house. For rent inside, the house was empty, except for a new sound. Breathing. Slow, steady, satisfied. The motel that forgets you. The motel sign flickered between vacancy and no one. Rachel noticed it only because she was too tired to care. It was 2:38 a.m. Her eyes burned from driving all night across Nevada, and the desert felt endless. Flat black land swallowing the road in every direction. She pulled in anyway. The office bell rang once when she pressed it. A man appeared from the back room. Not old, not young. His face looked unfinished, like a sketch someone had stopped working on. "One night," Rachel said. "Just sleep." The man slid a key across the counter. "You won't remember checking out." Rachel laughed weakly. "That's fine." Room 9 sat at the far end. No neighboring cars, no sounds. The desert pressed close, breathing hot air through the cracks. Inside, the room smelled of dust and old fabric. The clock on the nightstand blinked, instead of time. Rachel collapsed on the bed. At some point she woke up. The room was darker, the walls were closer. The mirror above the sink was fogged, except for fingerprints smeared from the inside. Rachel sat up slowly. The door was gone. In its place was blank wall, wallpaper unbroken. Her phone buzzed. Unknown contact. "Are you still here?" Rachel typed back. "Where is the door?" The response came instantly. "You checked out." The lights flickered. The mirror cleared. Her reflection lagged behind her movements, smiling when she wasn't. "Hey," her reflection whispered. "They don't like it when you notice." The walls creaked inward. From the ceiling came the sound of footsteps, pacing, dragging, circling the room. Rachel ran to the window. Outside wasn't the desert. It was the motel hallway. Dozens of doors lined it, all marked 9. Every door was open. Inside each room sat a version of Rachel, sleeping, crying, screaming, staring at nothing. The man from the office stood at the end of the hall. "You stayed too long," he said gently. "Now you're part of the vacancy." The window slammed shut on its own. Morning sun rose over the desert. The motel stood abandoned, paint peeling, sign rusted and dead. A single room light flicked on. Room 9. Inside, a woman lay sleeping. The clock blinked. And the sign outside briefly flashed. No one. The playground after midnight. The playground lights were never supposed to turn on. That's what the town Facebook group said. Broken wiring. Budget issues. Curfew enforced by darkness. Parents warned their kids, if it's dark, you go home. At 12:06 a.m., the lights flicked on. Noah saw it from his bedroom window. The empty playground across the street, slides, swings, jungle gym, washed in pale yellow light like a stage waiting for actors. He told himself it was coincidence. Then the swing moved. Just one. Slow. Careful. As if someone was testing it. Noah grabbed his phone. No signal. Again. It had been like that all week after midnight. He zoomed in with the camera. The swing was empty. Still moving. A laugh echoed faintly through the open window. A child's laugh. Noah's stomach tightened. He hadn't heard kids there at night since the accident last summer. 3 missing, 1 found, the rest not. Another light turned on. Then all of them at once. The playground was suddenly full. Children stood everywhere. At the slide. On the monkey bars. Sitting perfectly still on the seesaws. All facing the same direction. Facing Noah's house. He dropped the phone. A knock came from the front door. 3 soft taps. Noah didn't move. Another knock. This one louder. Impatient. "Mom?" A child's voice called. His blood ran cold. That was his brother's voice. Eli had drowned in the quarry 2 years ago. The knocking turned into scratching. "Mom said you'd open the door," Eli whispered. "She said it's my turn now." Noah backed away as the lights in his house flickered. From outside, the children began to hum. Soft at first, then louder, synchronized, wrong. The playground equipment started moving on its own. Swings pumping high, seesaws slamming. The slide echoing with footsteps going up, never down. The front door handle twisted. Noah ran to the back door. The yard was gone. In its place was the playground. Right behind his house. Close enough to touch. A small hand wrapped around his wrist. He looked down. A child stared up at him, eyes black, mouth smiling too wide. "Tag," it said. "You're it." Morning came quietly. Parents walked their dogs. Joggers passed by. The playground sat empty, peaceful, sunlit. Across the street, Noah's house stood with the front door wide open. Noah was never found. But every night at 12:06 a.m., the playground lights still turn on, and one swing moves first.